Here to discuss, Fox News contributor Lisa Booth, former Bernie Sanders national staffer Teslin Figaro, and Fox News contributor and president of Independent Women's Voice Tammy Bruce. What fun, by the way, to have all of you together, all on one show. I'm so excited about it. Let's start with you, Lisa, on this, what we can expect next year. You know the DC scene very well. It's never one thing or another. It's always a balance. But I just want you to try and put a percentage on it. What percentage of what happens do you think is going to be constructive work that helps the American people versus obstruction and efforts just to take down President Trump?
Well, you're right, Steve. I've spent a lot of time working on Capitol Hill. Sadly, I wish I had better news because it is almost Christmas, but I would say probably about 10%. I think Congress is largely just going to do the basic functioning of government, keeping the government open, debt ceiling increases, things of that nature. I don't think there's going to be a lot of constructive work from a bipartisan manner, unfortunately. And I think, look, Nancy Pelosi is going to be feeling a lot of pressure both from her caucus in regarding a growing progressive caucus. I think that's going to present trouble for her. You also have, even with her trying to get the speaker's gavel, more moderate members also opposing her. They're the ones that signed that letter saying they would not support her. That's going to be a trouble spot for her as well. And Democrats have already signaled that what they're expecting is investigation after investigation. You have Jerry Nadler saying that President Trump could be impeached over the latest information we found out with Cohen regarding the payments and potential campaign finance violations. You have an Adam Schiff, House Intel. It's going to be Russia, Russia, Russia. So I think President Trump's got a lot of political minefields ahead of him, unfortunately.
God, you're really cheering us up with that.
I know, I'm sorry. I wish I had. I got to be honest. I wish I had better news. I'm sorry.
Of course. Now, Tammy, look, there's one way of looking at this. I mean, perhaps from a sort of philosophically more conservative point of view is, it's not the end of the world if Congress doesn't do a lot of things. Sometimes, we want government not to do very much and just to sort of get out of the way. Would that be a silver lining in terms of what we might be expecting next year?
Yeah, that's why, I always wonder why everyone panics when there's a threat to shut down the government. A lot of us maybe would really like that to happen for a while, with some certain basic things that would continue to work. But look, we have a government for a reason and some very specific things. They ruined our healthcare system. And the Republicans did not step up to repeal and replace the dynamic that was happening. They've picked apart pieces of it. So clearly healthcare was a big issue in 2018. It's going to be a big issue in 2020. So Americans want solutions in a limited way. We want issues regarding, of course, national security, the border, healthcare, and the economy. It's a very, very basic dynamic. We want to be able to be free to live our lives. That said, this notion of what the Democrats are going to be able to do, I think this argument that there's going to be this internecine fight in the Democrats is a very important point. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has got ideas that are not going to be accepted by the establishment. Nancy Pelosi is going to be speaker because she raises money, but arguably there's no leader of the party. And so if it's going to be that directionless, this is going to be an opportunity for the president. He does well with a foil. He clearly is a negotiator. My worry is because he is persuadable, we might see things coming out that some conservatives might not like, but we've got to get certain things covered. Now, the Democrats, and I'll end with this, Steve, don't want solutions, I argue. Teslin will probably disagree. They feel that they won in 18 because of problems. That is what they feel that they're the best at, of exploiting problems. So I don't see the Democrats going out of their way to solve problems. I think they will be obstructionist, and I think that will not bode well for them in 2020.
Just before I go to Tez and Tammy, I'm really interested in the point you made about the kind of risks of, if you like, too much cooperation between the president and Nancy Pelosi in the wrong areas. Just give me one or two examples of what you might be worrying about in that area.
Yeah, well, I think that in some ways, I think when it comes to health care, is this notion of any kind of framework of moving more toward what's called single payer, which is nationalized health care. We really have to stay focused on the importance of the private sector, of freedom of choice, of Americans being able to choose what works best for them. And when government gets involved in anything of these kinds of things, it makes it worse, of course. And so Democrats, any compromise with the Democrats means more government. And the president has to stand against that. And he's the president because Americans don't want that. We want solutions, but we want it to be solutions that work. And the Democrats, after 8 years of Obama, certainly proved that the Democratic solutions to things are not what we want.
All right. So, Teslin, how do you see the sort of battle within the Democrats then in Congress with all those new members, particularly Ocasio-Cortez, always held up as the example, but there's more behind her in that same spirit. How's that going to shape up?
Well, I think, first of all, we'll see more of the real representatives of D.C., starring Trump, Pelosi, and Schumer. We'll see more of that, a reality show on TV. I absolutely love the transparency. I hope we see more of it. I think Trump will be pushing a lot of that. But to be quite honest with you, I actually do agree with Tammy. I mean, and maybe not because Democrats don't want to see solutions, but I think they're going to take a page from the Republicans' book. When Barack Obama was elected, they said they wanted to make sure he was a one-term president, and I think people feel the same way about President Trump. Unfortunately, both parties will be interested in who will secure the White House in 2020. So to me, it will be just a big show of individuals trying to shore up the base. Trump is going to make sure that he keeps transparency to let his base know where his position is. Democrats are still going to, try to get their positioning. But the unfortunate thing about Democrats is even though they talk a good game like Republicans, they really don't hold the line. So they probably will bend on a couple of things, which is all that bending is how they lost in 2008, in 2010 when we lost all of the seats all over the country. So we'll see. Pelosi is determined to show that she's able to bring both sides together, say one thing in front of us and then do another behind people's backs. So we'll see if the Democrats will stand firm or will they try to get something done. But honestly, Steve, I think it's just going to be an election campaign, pre-election campaign for 2020.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a pretty kind of unanimous view from all of you there. It's going to be kind of what we've got used to in terms of Washington. But, it's going to be fun either way. We'll enjoy covering it all. Thanks, all of you.